Welcome to Part 3 of Holistic Emotive Practices, Volume 1. In this video, I will discuss the physiology of individual speech sounds, called phonemes. In order to understand the scientific evidence for connecting individual speech sounds to an emotional value, you have to be familiar with the physiology of speech production, since physiology determines the emotional significance of a phoneme. One of the most important concepts concerning speech sounds is the existence of three primary vowel sounds. These three vowels, ah as in father, oo as in moon, and e as in sea, are found in every language. Some languages only have these three vowels and no other vowels. The sounds may vary slightly from one language to another. For example, the ah may sound like aw, or the oo may sound like oo, because of slight variations in the way the sound is produced. However, these three vowels always hold the corner positions in a more or less triangular vowel production space for every language. Linguists define vowel production space by the position of the jaw and the relative position of the lips. To produce an ah, the jaw is lower than it is for any other vowel. To produce an oo, the lips must protrude farther forward than for any other vowel. The muscle action to do this keeps the jaw drawn up. An E sound requires the lips to be drawn back and the jaw kept high. Other vowels, such as A, as in say, and O, as in slow, fit somewhere in the middle of the vowel production space, with the jaw not so low and the lips not so far out or back. For these reasons, I consider ah, oo, and e primary vowels, and all other vowels secondary or non-primary vowels. The three primary vowels also hold the corner positions in a triangular vowel perception space. Linguists use the first and second formants of vowel sounds to create a vowel perception space. Formants are bands of frequencies associated with vowels. When our vocal cords vibrate, they produce a number of frequencies. Not all of the frequencies escape the mouth. The mouth blocks some and passes through others. The shape of the mouth determines which frequencies or formants are allowed through. In essence, the mouth acts like a filter, allowing certain frequencies to pass and blocking others. Those frequencies which escape the mouth and are heard come in bands or groups which are called formants. We can identify a vowel sound by its first and second formants. If you plot the primary vowels in a space defined by first and second formants, the 3 points form a triangle. When the first and second formants of other vowels are plotted, they fall somewhere in the middle of the vowel perception space, just like they did in vowel production space. This strong correlation between vowel production space and vowel perception space takes place because the mouth shape determines both of them. We form vowels from an open, unobstructed vocal tract. We constrict the vocal tract to create consonants. I will examine consonants resulting from vocal tract constrictions based on individual physiological components that make up our speech articulators. The primary articulators include the tongue, lips, and jaw. Each of these three components gets paired with a primary vowel. Two of these pairings have clear connections. The jaw connects to the ah. Since to say the ah, the jaw assumes a lower position than for any other vowel. The lip pairs with the oo because of the position of the lips when we utter the oo. That leaves one major articulator, the tongue, and one primary vowel, E, and gives us our third pairing. If you constrict the vocal tract by raising the jaw from an ah position, you can create an R sound. You could also hear an L sound if you raise the jaw and keep the tongue from rising quite as far. In other words, let it flatten slightly. In fact, the R and the L are so close in their acoustic parameters that some languages do not distinguish between them. However, to make an L, the tongue has to flatten somewhat compared to the R. So if we want to consider consonants created only through constricting the jaw, the only one is R. We say several consonants using only the lips to constrict the vocal tract from an oo position. The nasal the sound for the letter M, is one of the most common consonants. It is found in almost every language. You form the sound by simply closing the lips and keeping them closed while you release air through the nose and simultaneously vibrate the vocal cords. Two stop consonants, the P and B, are also formed with the lips. To make each of these sounds, the lips close momentarily before reopening. The W sound is the final sound formed with the lips. To make the W sound, you must constrict the lips to form a small opening through which the air rushes. More consonants result from tongue constriction than all other constrictions combined. We can classify the consonants formed using the tongue into four main categories: stops, nasals, frigatives, and glides. We will examine each of these groups. To make stop consonants, the tongue momentarily stops the flow of air before releasing its position and then letting the air pass. We distinguish these stops on two parameters: point of articulation and voicing. The point of articulation refers to the particular spot you place the tongue in order to stop the air. If the tongue stops the airflow by touching the alveolar ridge, a point just above the upper teeth, you can say either the T or D. When the tongue touches the roof of the mouth, the palate, we can speak a ch or ja, CH sound or J sound. Raising the tongue at the back in order to touch the velum at the back of the mouth will yield either a K or G sound, a K or G. As you've probably noticed, for each point of articulation, we can say or pronounce a pair of consonants. In each of these pairs, one consonant is voiced and the other unvoiced. A voiced consonant results when the vocal cords begin to vibrate before the blockage of air is released by the tongue. If the blockage is removed prior to the vibration of the vocal cords, then the consonant is said to be unvoiced. The voice stops formed by the tongue include da, ja, and ga, the sounds for the D, the J, and the G. The unvoiced stop consonants are the other three in this group: the ta, the cha, and the ka, the sounds for the T, the CH, and the K. English has three nasal consonants, sounds in which the air flows through the nose. We already mentioned one, the M, which is formed by constricting the lips. The other two result from tongue constrictions. To make the N, the tongue presses against the roof of the mouth. The sound for the letters NG, or the ng sound, results when we raise the back of the tongue against the velum. Fricative consonants result when we force air through a narrow channel. We classify fricatives formed using the tongue in the same manner that we classify stop consonants, that is, by point of articulation and by voicing. Using this system, we classify an S sound as alveolar and unvoiced, where the Z is alveolar and voiced. The SH sound, as in sheep, we say is unvoiced palatal, and the SH sound, as in measure, or the sh sound, I should say, as in measure, is a voiced palatal. We only have two glide consonants formed with the tongue. To say the Y sound, the middle of the tongue raises toward the roof of the mouth. The L, the other glide, is considered a lateral glide because air flows around the side of the tongue. Some consonants employ more than one articulator. The tongue touches the teeth for two fricatives, the voiced TH as in they, and the unvoiced TH as in think. The teeth touch the upper lip for two fricatives, the voiced V and the unvoiced F. Finally, the Q sound, or the K sound as in quick, involves both the lips and tongue. For this sound, the lips round slightly as the tongue raises to the velum to stop the airflow. In English, we only have one sound considered guttural. A guttural sound is one formed by constriction in the back of the throat before the air reaches the mouth cavity. In English, we form the H by constricting the throat at the top of the vocal cords, a place called the glottis. Other languages have a number of other guttural consonants. Because some of these prove useful in HEP, I need to introduce them at this point. Another guttural glottal consonant of interest is called the ayin. It is a voiced stop consonant, formed by stopping the airflow with the glottis before releasing it as you start to vibrate the vocal cords. It sounds like this. Ai. Three guttural consonants of interest are considered pharyngeal because they stop or constrict the airflow with the pharynx, which is located in the back of the throat, slightly above the vocal cords. One of these three is a fricative that I represent with an underlined letter H. It is similar to the English H in sound, but is harsher and usually louder sounding than the English H. It sounds somewhat like an attempt to clear the throat, like this. The other two pharyngeal sounds are stop consonants. Like other pairs of stop consonants that share a point of articulation, one of these is voiced and the other unvoiced. The unvoiced one is represented by the letters K and H. This is a single phoneme, however it does sound somewhat like a combination of the English K and H. Like this. The voiced pharyngeal stop consonant, represented by G and H, sounds like a combination of the letters G and H, like this. Gah! The air is stopped in both of these sounds by the back of the tongue pushing the airway shut at the pharynx. This concludes the discussion on the physiology of phonemes. The next presentation in this series puts together the information from this and the previous talk to arrive at the heart of HEP. It makes the connection between specific speech sounds and the physiological dimensions of emotions. That's it for now. Thanks for listening.